I am honored to welcome architect Anshul D Sinha today. He is going to talk about sketching and rendering at its best. He is passionate for this and he has spent over 21 years mastering the art of sketching and rendering. Today, his portfolio has over 3,000 sketches in different genres, styles, sizes, and mediums. We welcome him on board. His sketches and portfolios have always inspired different aspiring professionals, students, and doctors, engineers from various fields. Architect Anshul D Sinha has himself been a university topper and a gold medalist. He has been in this field for over 21 years. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and also press the bell icon for the latest updates. Welcome, Anshul sir. I'm very delighted to invite you on our podcast today, The Serial Designer. And I'm very excited for today's podcast because, you're a dear friend of mine. And thank you for coming, sir.
Welcome and thanks for inviting me for this podcast. It's a real pleasure to be here and hope that this entire session will be great for me also.
Yes. I'm jumping directly to the point. So we are here to discuss, sketching qualities. What are the different aspects to sketching? Why is it so important in our design process? So a lot of design, segments, जैसे product design हो गया, furniture design हो गया, architecture, interiors. Have we have a subject also which inclines towards sketching, but why is sketching in general very important?
So, sketching to me, I feel, is a direct connection of your mind or brain to your hands. And during the design process, I feel it's a very sacred process where you are creating those thoughts, and sketching is a very interesting medium of how you can represent those thoughts on paper. And I believe if you are able to present those thoughts very maybe in a loose format or in a very polished good sketch format, I think that is something which is very helpful for communication with either your clients or maybe your faculties or maybe your colleagues. So sketching is very, very important part in the design process, I feel.
So generally, I've seen students take up sketching, till the last stage, like probably when they are designing a certain item. They are probably researching first. They are, making drawings. They're making 2D drawings. But I think 3D comes at the very last stage of their design. So how is that not right for the design process?
So I feel that there are a couple of misconceptions about what sketching is or what design sketching is. Many a times we get confused between the design sketching and a regular sketching. Regular sketching may be of any kind of scene or object drawing, and most of the times we intend or we have something ingrained about sketching that the sketching or sketches must be good. And especially when I look at the design sketching, I feel that the design sketching is a very loose, intuitive process. And it essentially does not demand a very nice, good looking sketch, but any kind of scribbling which helps in communicating the thoughts is a good design sketch, I feel. And other aspect of sketching is that sometimes we feel ki sketch is only about three-dimensional spatial understanding or sketch. However, design also involves diagrams, 2D sketches. So all that comes together as a form of sketching. So I feel when we look at sketching, most of the times we feel only drawing the 3D views or perspectives is what is known as sketching. But I feel the other way, right from the first initial scribbling of maybe a bubble diagram or just a thought representation on paper is also a very, very active way of doing a design sketch. Yeah.
And so a lot of architects, interior designers are into sketching. And so how important is that in a design process? Like according to you, where should it be placed?
I believe that sketching is the first step. Whenever we are given a brief, is when our thoughts start creeping in. And if we are comfortable with any medium, whether it's a pencil, pen, or maybe sometimes charcoal sticks also works, and we start scribbling, that is where it is placed. And it is placed throughout the design process, right till the end, when you are at the site and your contractors or laborers on site are not understanding anything. Maybe your client is with you on site, they are not understanding anything. That is when also this sketching comes very handy.
I think that is when it's most important.
Exactly.
During the execution.
And many a times I have experienced this, how much ever good 2D drawings we release or working drawings we release, many a times the contractors or laborers come up with, how does it really work? How do I make it? And nothing else works but your pencil and a piece of plywood or a wall works the best to show him in different perspectives or views, axonometric, isometrics, exploded view sometimes. Only this works and no other kind of drawing works for them. So it is placed throughout the design process, right from the first, the brief till the execution.
So because you're a very passionate, you're very passionate about your hand sketches, your hand renderers. When did this passion really start?
So I started in 2003 when I took the admission in architecture. And before that, I only knew that my drawing skill is slightly better than others. And I had no background of architectural sketching, and the entrance coaching also was fairly with a lot of fine art techniques. That is what we look at. But I was fortunate that in my first year itself, I was exposed to a couple of my seniors who had brilliant sketching skills. And that is what inspired me. And I thought, I am no good in anything else. I could not draw portraits, I could not draw landscape. I thought maybe I can take up this and develop it, as I was inspired by them, and started slowly working on it and doing a lot of random sketching also, apart from the mainstream academics. And I was continuously sitting beside my seniors, observing them and looking at how they are holding the pen or pencils, how they are doing different strokes with the pen directly. And also a couple of them I could understand and learn the rendering skills also. Later on, I kept developing that on a daily basis, and that's where I am landed towards with more than 3,000 sketches in my portfolio now.
But so like you said, so is it so sketching is a skill which you can develop, or is it something which, so a lot of students are they find it very difficult to sketch. So as soon as we say okay, just why don't you sketch this out, and they're stuck. Section kar lenge, elevation kar lenge, maybe they'll do a plan. Just say you tell that can you just quickly show it to me in 3D, they're stuck. So why is that blockage there?
So the first part is that yes, the architectural drawing or sketching can be developed. And I feel that if you know nothing about it, that is the best space to be in, because that is when you can you have no unlearning to be done. You can straight away look at some basics of architectural sketching, and orthography comes into a play over here. Some basic knowledge of perspective comes. Observation is very, very important here. And the main focus should be on practicing it daily and consistency. That is what is missing many a times with the students. There are a lot of past mental blocks. Like many of us maybe were not good with drawings in our school days, and we were possibly not encouraged much to do that. And somehow we have landed up doing architecture. So these past mental blocks also need to be understood by individual, and then work towards improving what you're not good with. And it's an architectural sketching per se is very very easy, and if we just follow some basic steps, we'll be able to make at least decent level of drawings, sketches which are easy to communicate. Like I said, many times we only have a picture of I need to be very good with sketching, only then I will sketch, but it is the other way around.
Yeah.
We need to sketch and then we will be good someday.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of efforts and sacrifices for sure.
Sacrifices, I think, in any skill you learn, I think sacrifices are something which is inevitable.
Yes.
So who are these people? Like, you have taught a couple of people around you, like even through your online portal, your offline workshops. But who are these people who actually take up sketching courses from you?
So I was fortunate that in 2012 I started coaching students of architecture and interior design for sketching and rendering. And COVID has been a boon for me in terms that when I launched my YouTube channel and couple of videos on YouTube channel, so I had some really great experiences during the COVID times where an IT professional from Chennai, she inquired and called up and said ki I'm a software engineer, but I'm very passionate about terrace landscape design, and she is doing a course, a distant learning course. And she said, I saw your videos on YouTube and you have explained the concept very well. Why don't you teach me landscape sketching? So that's where I designed a customized course for her, and we took about 30 hours of landscape sketching, which included all the basic landscape graphics as well as the sense of and basics of perspectives. And she's doing good. One more experience was where a 12th standard physics teacher calls me up and says ki I'm given a new subject of product design which I need to teach my students. I'm fairly good with the idea of product design and concepts, but I'm lacking in some sketching skills which I would like to develop. And that's where I again created a customized course of 30 hours for product design sketching. So we started right from teaching them orthographics and then working with till the perspectives. So these some experiences were very good. I have a couple of my seniors who took sketching lessons because they were for quite a lot, many years they were disconnected with the architecture and they want to come back. And one of the ways they can come back is to begin with sketching, and that's where they said, why don't you just take me through the sketching lessons again. And we conducted those courses also, and some of my faculties also did take sketching lessons, and they're doing very good with interiors now in their fields and involving sketching in a daily process where they're sketching. Of course, they're using digital iPads for doing all that, but I'm happy and glad that they are able to implement and they got that courage and confidence again that they can simply sketch and explain their office colleagues, and they are doing good.
So right now you just mentioned about the use of iPad, Procreate, and all these things.
Yes.
What are the different mediums which you can explore when it comes to sketching?
Yeah, so the first basic medium is our pencil and paper, and there are n number of mediums. And when it comes to the digital sketching, a very simple phone which has a good memo, and you can buy a very cheap stylus pen also, that works. Few years back I had one phone where I did a lot of sketching on memo, and I was thrilled to understand that the architectural strokes were possible in that particular phone also. And of course iPad has taken it to a new level. I personally have not explored much with iPad. I also explored a bit on Wacom Bamboo, which is a digital sketch pad. But sometimes it becomes slightly difficult because in those kind of sketch pads, you need to look at the screen and scribble on the sketchpad, which is slightly difficult to coordinate. And I feel that those sketchpads are very good for people who are into animation or fine artists, because they don't play with much of straight lines, whereas architectural sketching involves straight lines, although it may be slightly loose, and that is slightly difficult on sketchpad. So a screen interface is very handy for us. I've seen couple of my students and my seniors exploring very good with the iPads. They're doing a lot of representations using that, and I think that's the future. But many a times sketcher would want to have personal real touch with the mediums and want to play on paper, and we don't enjoy much on the digital medium. So even I personally like to play with the real stuff rather than the digital, but I have fairly understood that. And everything is like a ocean. So there are many techniques with hands, and there are many techniques and sequences, processes which we need to understand through digital sketching also. Many times we look at very good results maybe on some reel or on Pinterest, and we think that I will be able to do that if I buy those. But trust me, it comes with a lot of efforts and a lot of understanding of even the softwares too.
So I have this very interesting segment. We've not done this before.
Okay.
So I'm just going to show you like a couple of placards, and you have to tell me the story behind that sketch when you
Sure.
were doing it.
Sure.
Okay. So the first one, the first sketch I have is this one. So
Yeah.
I want to know, when did you, how did you envision this? When did you start? And what
Okay.
is the story behind this?
Yeah, so this is an interesting story. Firstly, let me give you a background that this is a watercolor series which I started couple of years back, and there's a very strong reason why I started with the watercolors. Honestly, I realized through the years that my color sense was not that strong. In fact, I could not even recognize couple of colors, not medically unfit, but as we went through the architectural sketching, and architectural sketching is very different than the realistic sketching. And sometimes I realized that because I was doing a lot of architectural sketching and rendering, there are some colors which we don't even start recognizing because we don't normally use those colors. So for example is the purple. So never in my life I mixed two colors and created purple out of it. So I realized that when I was doing my interior projects, and maybe in my job also, I realized that when it comes to understanding or creating a color scheme, that is where there was difficulty. So how do I improve this? So I went through some color scheme books, but nothing really worked. And I realized that I had a distant dream of working with watercolors and be able to paint using watercolors. And watercolor paintings is what I was dreaming about. So I thought, let me just take it up. And as I started doing a lot of watercolors, I started observing objects. I started observing landscapes through references, through live. And that is where I started doing a lot of color mixing exercises at home. So I would just for maybe 1.5 hours, 2 hours, only mix colors and maybe create 10 to 15 shades of green or violets, and even the gradations and variegated washes also. So that gave me a good sense of understanding about the color. And this particular painting is an outcome of that. It belongs to my Nani's house. It's a 100-year-old mansion, and and it was about to get demolished. And this is a very nice composition which I found. I clicked it myself, and especially in all of my sketches, you will find that I always like to capture play of light and shadows. And as you can see in this particular images, where a very distinct, strong shadows are being drawn, and a beautiful association with this photograph or the painting is that this was my first painting which got sold within 15 minutes of my first exhibition show. And I was glad that the chief guest herself liked it so much that she purchased it right within 15 minutes of the exhibition. And it was the first painting sold in that particular exhibition also. And the realism was very interesting in this. Yeah.
So the next one we have is this one.
Yeah.
So I don't. It's actually it's more like a graphic symbol. I don't know. Than a sketch. So what's the story behind this one?
Yeah. So this dates back to 2013. Actually, I keep taking a lot of sketching targets because one fine day I thought that maybe I'm not able to even visualize forms. That is when I started taking sketch a day routine, where I had some couple of rules which I created for myself, which was that we always say that it takes around 21 days to get a habit. And I thought my first target of sketch a day would be 21 days. I will sketch one sketch every day, no matter what happens. And before 12 o'clock, midnight, I need to post my sketch on a social media platform so that even the entire world knows that I'm doing something.
So I think that's a target. So I think people relate to this a lot.
Yeah.
Because they want you to finish the target.
Exactly.
So hence they're with you in this journey.
Yeah. So first couple of days, maybe people thought, yeah, he's trying to post and posting it. And then I have received messages where they were waiting. So maybe at 11 o'clock also I received today's, you did not post a sketch. So that was there. But yes, sketch a day is not very easy also, because when you are fairly comfortable with life, you are able to find time and sketch. And during this time, we had multiple sad events in my life. There, I lost my brother on this day, and this sketch was done post his cremation. And I could not think. Generally, I draw a lot of building sketches and interior spaces, but this day I could not think anything else. And we had many sad deaths in my family. So this sketch is actually a very symbolic. Has a symbolic meaning behind it. If you look at the rectangles and squares, they are done in white. I had very limited one single ball pen which I had taken, and suddenly, because of all these sad events in my life and my family, all the happiness got trapped within those black spots which I represented here. So it was an abstract way of representing our family's thoughts and my thoughts onto this sketch. And this is what, as an architect also, we do. We convert our abstract thoughts into these kind of graphics or symbols, and eventually this may become an architecture piece also.
But this Sketcher Day series, like 365 days of sketching.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to achieve that level of dedication would be required when it comes. I think that's what you need to learn.
Yeah.
What about this bus ticket sketch?
Yeah. So again, an interesting one. So many times I also felt that, and we carry this myth that we need to have a good paper, a good medium, and only then I'll be able to sketch. And we get stopped by, okay, this paper size is very small. So this was just to prove myself that even a bus coupon can be, a bus or a train coupon can also be used for sketching your concepts. The other way over here is that most of the times our design thoughts come maybe when we are not on the drawing board, but maybe we are on the bus or taking some other ride. And the funny part is the toilet is the best place where we get a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. And there is this barrier where, how to retain these ideas in our mind so that when I reach to my drawing board, I'll be able to sketch. So this was just a proof that I was taking a bus ride, and that's where this building concept struck me. And I thought, I did not have any sketchbook, had this bus coupon, had my pen, so I ended up sketching this. So the paper size does not matter. It's only the intent that we can sketch anywhere and everywhere.
You just mentioned about how do you retain the sketch in your mind? So is that something you follow? I mean, how do you do that?
Yes. So this was a personal challenge which I was experiencing, that I could not retain the sketch for a longer period. And that is where I started training myself and to retain these thoughts. So whenever any kind of building form or building design came to my mind, I kept thinking about it for few minutes and few hours. And later on, I realized that I could retain my thoughts, and also started developing a new skill where even if I was sitting with somebody else or talking to somebody, I can yet create these thoughts. And the intention was to complete the sketch in my mind, so that when I sit on the board, it is just a 10-minute, 15-minute formality for me to pen it down on paper. But the entire sketching happens in mind. And I started calling this as mind sketching. And it has given me great results. It has given me a spontaneous thinking, as well as lot of time is saved when I start mind sketching, because I may be sitting anywhere in the coffee shop and thinking about it, may not have all these mediums to sketch. So this has helped a lot.
So the next up we have this beautiful building. Looks like a conceptual view, as you call it.
Yeah.
So what is the story behind this?
So this is from my internship, and the moment I joined my office, and so boss realized the sketching abilities. So one fine day he gives me a call at 6 in the morning and tells me to come to the office. And he had a meeting at, I think, around 8, and he wanted a 3D view, so that the meeting can be successful. So I ended up landing in the office early and took around 45 minutes to conceptualize and sketch this. And we took a printout in the office, and he took it, and the meeting was successful because we could present the plan as well as a conceptual 3D view, which would end up taking around 3 to 4 days if we would have given it to any 3D outsourcing. And I used to show those conceptual alternatives to my boss, and there was a fairly good idea of what the building will look like, what are the different elements will look like. So I was doing the entire building sketch. I was doing maybe the part sketches of some details to explain what I'm thinking about the building and the elevation. And it gave a fair idea to my boss of how this entire building will turn up. And only when this was confirmed, we used to draw it properly on AutoCAD and then send it for the 3D. So the entire process of 7 days of rendering was compressed to 2 to 3 days. And eventually we were able to do a lot of work and a lot of elevations, designs. And what I realized was it saved my boss's time, his money, and gave a lot of more conviction and confidence on the entire design process of the office, as well as we were able to produce high resolution renders in a very quick time and could deliver better to our builders and the clients. So that was an interesting learning for me of how sketching could be so powerful. And I have always been inspired by Hafiz Contractor and his sketching skills. Back then when I was working in Hafiz Contractor, that is what I wanted to look at, how simply he removes those gateway papers, keeps it on the drawings, and randomly sketches with a sign pen. And that was sheer pleasure to watch him. And I aspire to do a very similar kind of sketching, and that is what I used to enjoy when I was in my job and internship. So that's the experience.
So, but I think inspiration is very important when it comes to, like, you should be inspired to sketch.
Yeah.
Like even in your Sketcher Day series or even in general, you should be very inspired as a designer to sketch. What about this?
Yeah, so this is also interesting. I call it as a blind sketching. Simply because generally the mediums which we use for the sketching is either pencil or pen mediums, which are quite visible on paper because of the graphite or the inks. Over here, I remember that in my childhood I saw an artist on Doordarshan, and he used to emboss using his nails on postcards or the business cards. papers, and he used to draw portraits out of those within few minutes or seconds. And uh, there are some techniques where we use empty refill pens or embossing tools for rendering also. So I thought, why can't I combine both of them and do sketches using an empty refill pen, wherein I can emboss an image of the build form on paper. And then I remember ki we in our childhood we have all maybe traced the coin, and a very similar manner over here. Once the entire sketch is complete, you don't see anything on paper. Trust me, and it's quite slightly difficult to understand what you are drawing. Later on, when you put a layer of graphite, is when this entire sketch is revealed. And whenever I have demonstrated this technique in front of my students, they are completely zapped and shocked as the sketch is revealed. I ended up adding one more layer of tonality to create more 3Dness in these type of sketches. So I call it as blind sketching.
So you have a different variants of sketching as well.
Yes.
Like techniques ho gaya, ya, different use of mediums, materials.
Yes.
What are they, and which is your favorite one?
Okay. So I generally play with a lot of mediums, and I have no favorite medium. What I realized was that I don't want to be good with one single medium or one single technique. I tried many themes and many genres of sketches. So right from medium of graphite charcoal to felt pens or sketch pens to markers, watercolors and photo inks. I have done sketching with all these mediums and rendering with all these mediums, even pencil colors per se. And I have also explored different ways of using these mediums. So there's no definitely favorite medium. I respond to my mood. I respond to what I am about to sketch and which medium will be appropriate for it. For example, we were going to Hampi for a tour, and I feel that it's very important to plan before you sketch. The intention is clear that we want to sketch. The planning is also important, and planning involves looking at where you are going, what you may end up sketching, and appropriately keep those mediums handy for use. So for this Hampi tour, I saw those buildings. It was the first time I was going to that region, and I realized that there's a lot of carvings, intricacies in the architecture. So if I end up using a fine pen to draw a build form, I may be losing a lot of time or consuming a lot of time to detail it out. Naturally, when we use fine pens, we will be inclined towards doing a lot of detailing. And we don't have that much time. So I practiced at home using sign pens with bold tips and chisel markers. Very simple 10-15 rupees chisel markers I took, black, and practiced few sketches at home. And when I was there, I could draw build forms within 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and we all know that Hampi is a belt where sketching is also prohibited in most of the historical sites. But we could sneak out some time, some space where we could quickly do that sketching. So that planning is very important. And I am truly inspired by urban sketchers over here. Urban sketchers is a group who will be from various diverse backgrounds, and some may be doctors, engineers, and from any other field. And they are only intending to sketch the moment, the scenes of the city or any objects. And it has to be compulsory live sketching. And I've seen couple of them planning their stationery kit before they end up going for a sketch. So that kind of commitment and dedication is what is required if you want to build this skill. And the learning is immense because you start observing material palette, texture, color, and forms. Ultimately, it shows up in the way the architecture comes. I also realized and understood that all master architects have been doing building sketching as well as object sketching also,
Hmm.
and they would capture anything that inspires them. So recently I went through a book by architect Sanjay Mohe,
Hmm.
and the entire book is only with his sketches. It has a lot of building sketches, but then there are animal sketches, there are human portraits. So many architects are inspired by various forms, textures, and we should be have that freedom to do all these things and not only stick to the building or
Hmm.
interior sketches, because
Hmm.
everything and anything could inspire us.
Correct. And
Yeah.
what about so say now students are inclined towards say 3D renders, SketchUp ho gaya. Even
Yes.
there are a lot of rendering mediums, जैसे Lumion, Enscape, AI hai.
Yes.
So how are these hand sketches going to compete with these digital renderers, and how is that going to define their portfolio also?
Okay. So there are, I feel, couple of aspects to this. Firstly, I don't think so hand sketches or manual representations will ever be replaced, because we humans value handwork, how much ever the computer comes into. But as a student and as a professional, we eventually have to switch towards the digital skills if required. Again, appropriate to the conditions and the kind of presentation, the theme of presentations we require, is we should definitely look for that. And as a student, I feel that there has to be a transition, that in the initial years we must focus on hand skills, and I think all the institutes definitely do that. But as a student, we must have this responsibility that I need to get trained better in doing the hand skills, and there is a stage in between the academics where we must attempt to mix these.
So how do you convert your sketches into AI?
Yeah, so recently I've started exploring the AI medium also, and this happened a couple of months back, where I uploaded one of my landscape sketch and a building sketch on my Insta page, and one of my students sent me the AI generated 3 dimensional image, and I said ki oh wow, he took so much time to even design the entire thing on a SketchUp or maybe some other platform, and he has sent me this rendered image. It's lovely. So he told me that even I can do it, because it was just a free website wherein you can upload the sketch and it generates the 3D version of it. You may or may not add the prompt to it. So I had done a lot of my building visualizations and form imaginations during my sketch a day routine since last 10 years, and I had this dream where that someday I will learn 3D softwares and I will model them to look at how these buildings will really look in the environment. And this AI inspired me, and I started exploring that. I started uploading all my sketches, and maybe in just less than 45 minutes I did 200 renders.
Wow.
To be honest, I was so much carried away because of all this, and the results it was giving within 15-20 seconds of render, which is definitely not possible in a day. Okay, so it has definitely given an edge. The students can and the professionals can use this for very quick conceptual renders without any expense, to be very honest, because even for visualizing and doing a very basic modeling also, you will end up spending a lot of money. So when I look at AI being used, I feel we must explore that, especially even for the sketchers who are doing very good sketches. Even we should explore. And one thing which I realized when I started rendering those 200 perspectives or buildings is that there is a distinct way the AI thinks and interprets the line work and the elements. and I explored all the landscape sketches also, architecture sketches also, as well as the interior. And I imported high rendered views also and looked at the results. And also I thought that let me just try, if I what happens if I import a very loose conceptual sketch, what are the results. So there were fairly good results which gave us a good understanding of how the 3D massing would look. Sometimes it converts the entire perspective in a real model type of rendering. That also helps for us. And I also looked at what if I import a very clean straight lines sketch using tools without any texture, without any color. And this I'm talking specially about the interiors, and the results were amazing. And the kind of ambience it quickly gives you will definitely instill a huge belief on what you are about to create. And these would be very handy for showing the clients in the first few meetings, because at no expenses you are able to generate this. So definitely improving on sketching will give us edge over others